Hello, everyone. Over the next 4 weeks, we will be dropping a special episode of the Job Hunting Podcast from our 2022 collection into your feed. We're doing this because we believe these episodes are great for this time of the year. Sometimes, even as we are recording and editing them, we earmark them for the festive season. Secondly, we believe in repetition. I have often listened to podcast episodes 2 or 3 times to let the message sink in. If you have already listened to these episodes before, my advice is to listen again, and you will uncover a few more gems and great advice from them. And finally, we do this because we as a team need to take a break, but we don't want to leave you hanging. You see, festive seasons can be triggering to job hunters. It can make you feel more stressed and lonely in your job search. I remember this very well because I've been there and I don't want you to feel like I did. So for me, keeping the podcast and my newsletter going out weekly is incredibly important and is part of the support system that I provide for you. Many people ask me, should I keep looking for work during the holidays? Or should I just give up and start again, let's say at the end of January? My answer is always, it depends. If you are looking for work now, my message to you is keep looking. There will be less competition, even though fewer roles are usually advertised around this time. I do think it's still a good thing to keep looking and keep the momentum going and build yourself a job hunting discipline, even if you're doing just one small task per day. To learn how to best organize your schedule to fit job hunting in your daily and weekly routine, you can download my free resource. It's called the Optimized Job Search. You can find it on my website, renatabernardi.com. That's RENATABERNARDE.com. There's also a link to it in this episode show notes. Remember, I am with you. You should carry on, and the newsletters and podcasts are here to provide you with accountability, knowledge, and support. Now, let's listen. Hi, I'm Renata Bernardi, and this is the Job Hunting Podcast, where I interview experts and professionals and discuss issues that are important for job hunters and those who are working to advance their careers. So make sure that you subscribe and follow, and let's dive right in. Dressing for work post-lockdown is a real challenge. Now, for the past 2 years during this pandemic, we've made a lot of jokes about working from home, finding the motivation to get ready. For some women and people that enjoy makeup, putting the makeup on, do we really need to? Understanding, Zoom filters and finding, a balance between being ready for work at home and feeling comfortable. So that was, all kind of what we've learned to do for the past 2 years. Now we're in a situation where some of us are going back to the office, either full-time or a few days a week. Finding the motivation now and finding the pieces that still fit you after 2 years of not wearing corporate wear, not being keen to being uncomfortable in your clothes as we used to be in 2018 and 19. It's really challenging. Some of us are dressing up. Some of us have just decided that they will dress down, never wear heels again. Working from home has definitely changed the way that we understand corporate wear. Just doing a little bit of research for this episode over the web, I found so many articles, and many of them with contrasting and opposite ideas about what we should do. I have also been inspiring my clients to bookend their days in the office with social meetings and networking. So if they are going to go through the trouble of getting out of the house, dressing up, might as well make that opportunity to see somebody in their network that they haven't seen for years, having a drink later in the day with a friend, and so on. I invited an international award-winning personal stylist and brand expert for a chat. Silvana Patrick is a great person to talk to in the Job Hunting podcast because she has had the advantage of having worked in the corporate world as a corporate professional in many countries before going back to her early love for fashion and styling. She knows how corporate attire plays a very important role in forming your professional brand and how important it can be for career development, especially in job searching. As I always ask my guests the question, tell me about your career, what we end up learning is that Silvana has done a couple of career changes as well. So pay attention to those times where she describes moving away from her early love from fashion early on in her career and going into the corporate sector, and later finding the opportunity to go back into fashion and styling. So you might be able to learn a little bit about how people do career changes and how they happen in other people's lives. She then explains in a very inclusive and understanding way the importance of caring and dressing for your body shape and your personality, not following fashion trends that are not suitable to you, and embracing how you want to dress. So let's hear now our conversation with Silvana Patrick, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Today, it's all about you. And I think the great thing about you providing advice about styling and what to wear for the group of people that is in my audience, which are job hunters and people in the corporate sector, is that
Perfect.
you've been there and done that. So
Yeah.
you come with the knowledge of how you actually wake up every morning, go to work 9 to 5, and have to dress in a certain way.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear first a little bit about your career before you became a full-time stylist. What did you do before and where were you? Because you've been all over the world too. That's fun.
Well, I started in fashion, and that was a no-brainer decision for me because I know I love fashion since I was a very young girl. So I am a fashion designer by background. I studied fashion. I didn't do anything in the creative side of it because I ended up in a fashion magazine. And I say that it was a fast ascending career start. I ended up in New York working for a luxurious magazine that was really fast, and I was very young. It was kind of overwhelming. I was thrilled, to say the least.
Yeah.
But as much as I loved the idea, I hated the industry itself. And I just couldn't stay.
Was it like Devil Wears Prada? Do you recognize yourself in that movie?
It resembles quite a bit. It is very much a cutthroat industry. It is, right? It's huge, insanely. We're talking about New York, right? Maybe in other places, maybe it's a bit different, but there was way too much. It was not that it was a lot of work. I'm used to doing a lot of work. I come from a workers' family. We really roll up our sleeves and get things done. But the culture didn't fit. I didn't fit in at all. And so I decided to pack my things to go back home. I was kind of lost for a long time because I didn't have a plan B at all, right? I threw all the eggs in one basket. And that was disappointing because we're talking many, many moons ago, 25 years ago, right? Maybe more. And there was no styling going on. If there was for celebrities, right? So that's what today people still think what I do is just for celebrities or rich people. But back in the day, it was only for celebrities and rich people. So it didn't even cross my mind, right? So I just packed my things, went back home, got lost for a little while. It didn't come straight away. And then eventually I said, I have to do something, and entered the corporate world. Went back to uni, got a business degree, and entered the corporate world. So long story short, it was a very difficult transition as being a stylist to a corporate woman. I was still dressed like a young stylist, not getting much out of it except for my differential was English. I was getting jobs because of that, but nothing else was sustaining me. Didn't have experience. I was not dressed the part, and the doors were getting closed all the time. And I didn't know. Nobody will ever tell you, you need to change. You're not dressed appropriately. Nobody will ever tell you. They'll just close the doors for you. So one day I had this aha moment. Actually, my mom gave me this aha moment. She said, did you really go to the interview dressed like that? It's not that I was not, I was just a bit more, bold or, of course. And then I said, maybe I should change.
That's so funny.
But it took me a long, long time, right? And when I did, it's unbelievable. my career took off. It was
Oh,
simply
good.
like, and then, I got more experience and all that. And when
Do you
things
remember
back the other,
what you decided to wear when you realized that you had to dress differently for your job interviews?
just wear a blazer, put a
Oh,
blazer
okay.
on, that
Yes.
kind of thing. It changes completely. If you can wear anything pretty much underneath a blazer, and it will
Yes.
instantly put you in the right mood, especially in the corporate world. So that was something very, very interesting that happened. And then, like I got success in that career for a long time. I stayed there for 15 long years, traveling places and moving around and stuff like that. But then it was time to really pursue my dream. And then when I started my consulting business, it was the whole styling thing was much more approachable, more popular. And then it's been, 11 years fast forward and 3 different continents after 5 different countries. I lost the track of, the number
That's
of
so
cities and
interesting. So you've
countries.
been styling women. Do you style men as well, Silvana?
I do. It does depend on where I am. For example, in New York, it was pretty much 50-50. In the Middle East, obviously 100% women. Here,
Mhm.
I would say 20-80. Men,
Yeah.
men 20 and women 80. So it varies. In Europe,
Okay.
it's probably 70% women. It's a little bit.
Yes. And this is really interesting. I want to talk to you about the difference between how people show up in the corporate sector in different continents and countries. Have you noticed a big difference? Because I noticed, I'll tell you a story. When I was moving to Australia, that was 2001 I moved. So it was in 2000. And my auntie and my mom decided to buy me a few things for me to wear when I went to uni, because I came as an international student, and they bought this beautiful leather bag that wouldn't fit any of my notebooks or textbooks because it was small, and high heels. And of course, I thought it was great. But then I arrived in Australia and I realized that I wouldn't be able to wear that bag or those heels to go to uni at Melbourne Uni, with a huge campus where I could only wear sneakers, of course, and I needed a backpack immediately. So that's kind of the cultural difference
Shock culture.
between.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
almost a
yes.
shock. It is almost a shock when you're born and raised in a city like Sao Paulo and you spend a lot of time in a city like New York, and then you move to Australia, which is even compared to Europe. And of course, I won't even mention the Middle East. The standards are way too high there. Like women are already made up at 6 a.m. in the morning and really professionally made up. You said, oh my God, she hired a makeup artist to do her makeup 5 a.m. in the morning or something.
Really?
Because
Oh, I had no idea. That's amazing.
yeah, so that's an extreme. But coming to a place like Australia and New Zealand are one of the most laid back countries that I know of. And but in saying that, there are lots of internationals here. And
Yes.
besides like being Brazilian, we, from Sao Paulo, we have high standards. You have to have your nails done. You cannot have your roots showing. There's a lot of pressure. On top of that, I have an Italian background. So my mom is still even more strict. She wouldn't let us wear as kids. My kids won't wear Havaianas, they won't leave the house.
Yeah.
She wouldn't even buy Havaianas for us. Mind you, go to malls or things like that. So we were brought up in a very high standards like that. And what I noticed when I speak with my friends here who have Italian backgrounds or any European backgrounds, it's the same. They bring their standards, right? So what it means for a professional, we're dealing with clients, we're dealing with potential clients and things like that, where, a job interviewer or something, we really have to think about their standards and conform to their standards, because we're going to be judged. That's, undeniable. So that's extremely important, that we know who we are interacting with in order to be on the same level, or as much as possible on the same level as this person. Do some research, stalk them. It's easy to do that these days with social media. So that's the thing. I mean, you can be in Australia, but you still interact with internationals. And even if you're, the world's getting smaller and smaller, we're dealing with people from all over the world. And that's the thing that we have to really bear in mind, because I've heard so many bosses all these years saying, I cannot promote my super smart employee because of the way he or she dresses. I cannot take them to a board meeting with my, VIP clients. That kind of thing, it really happens. And it's not going to be communicated to the employee. That's the kind of thing.
It's a very hard thing to communicate. Yes.
Yes, exactly right. There's a lot of things involved in that. There's prejudice, all this ethic things involved. That's why there's no communication, but the results say for themselves. Like you can get stuck simply because of the way you present yourself.
That's right. I mean, we've mentioned the pandemic when we were getting ready, Silvana, because it's been, I've been in a lot of lockdowns in Melbourne, and you are in Sydney, not so many lockdowns, but towards the end, Sydney did get locked quite a lot as well. And of course, with the lockdowns, it meant people weren't going into the office. They were working from home all the time. That's happening all over the world in kind of a flow kind of way. Sometimes, a country will have no lockdowns, and then the next month they will, and then they finally experience that.
And God knows if it's going to be, for much longer. We never know, right? That's going to be the case
especially after 2020 with the more serious lockdowns we had here in Melbourne. I've noticed the way people changed in the way that they dressed, both when they were out and about and also in Zoom meetings and Skype meetings and so on. Have you noticed that as well? Are you paying attention to how people have changed their attitudes towards dressing up for work and putting makeup on? What are the trends? What should we be, looking at?
Look, the trends are put in two categories, right? On a personal level, because let's not even mention the fashion industry, because it's an industry that wants to sell. So what they're doing at the moment, they're trying to do, cast a huge influence on us to get out there and get dressed, because that's their thing, right? They want
they need to sell attire, so they're telling us to go get dressed.
Exactly right. So on an individual level, there are, like I said, two categories of people. The one who, and me included in this category, I like to dress up. I'm not a slave, but I feel pleasure, right? I absolutely I love fashion as an art. So for me, that's something that elevate my mood, increase my productivity. I exercise my creativity in the way I dress and express myself. So there are people who really miss that, right? I have to say that for a while I relaxed. I said, oh my God, that's so good not to be having to show up, and dress up and make all the effort. It's a balance. But there was a point that I missed that. I said, oh my God, I miss wearing my nice clothes and putting a little bit of makeup. And there's the other group, people who really don't like doing any of that. They just did because they had to. And then it's very selective. So people who are in this category, they will read articles and opinions of people who resonate with that view. So they will really start, okay, now I can relax, because Wall Street said it's a bit more, the dress code's relaxed. I'll relax. That's what they wanted to hear. And other people say, oh my God, that's time to go back to that thing and, and show up and dress up and never give up kind of motto, right? So, so it's very personal. And like you said, there's no right or wrong. There's never any right or wrong.
It was very confusing for a while, and it still is in many ways, because people were invited for job interviews during lockdown. Those were video interviews, and there were no instructions on what to dress. And it's kind of weird to dress in a shirt, tie, and suit when you're at home. Like, should I dress as if I was going into a job interview, or do I acknowledge the fact that it's lockdown and I'm at home and I just wear a nice shirt, for example? So I used to get a lot of clients and people that book consultations with me asking me for advice. And then eventually, Silvana, some organizations, especially the larger ones, would send a request for an interview with some instructions on what to wear.
Let people know.
And that's
Yeah.
smart because it is quite bizarre. Like I like you, I feel like I need to dress in order to get in the zone of work. So I'm the sort of person who has been dressing up. I'm wearing a belt. I mean, that's to me that says a lot. Like why
There's
would
a
you
lot,
wear a
yes.
belt to work from home? Yeah, some people just didn't know how to present themselves and acknowledge the fact that you are not going into a boardroom interview. It's a work from home interview. So it was confusing for them.
Yeah, theoretically, you should treat as if you were in a boardroom, right? To be and then respectful to the person who is on the other side. But it's totally understandable if you don't want to, like a man, wear a suit with a tie, to be sitting like, like first of all, I have to improve your posture to be able to show people what you're wearing and all that. At the end of the day, I think it is a personal thing, what you think it's best, and more a holistic approach of the whole picture. People will definitely be more understanding. That's for sure.
It's very interesting. And now, of course, we are going back into the office, and some organizations have asked their employees to come back twice a week, or, they are considering some flexibility, but asking people, please come back. And I'm wondering if you have been out and about in Sydney watching people go back to work. I went to the Melbourne CBD a few weeks ago, and I was actually impressed. Everybody was so well dressed as opposed to
Yeah.
where I live, which is Bayside near the beach. And whenever I go out here, everybody's like not really very keen to dress up to go to the beach or to go to a coffee shop. They just want to wear their Havianas and, shorts and a shirt, and that's it.
Yeah. It's exactly the same. I just had a business lunch yesterday and it felt so normal, and people dressed and wearing suits everywhere. And it was refreshing to see after a long time. So it's pretty much going back to where we started, I think. So
It's funny what you
wouldn't
said
have-
before about the fashion trying to make us dress up again, because I am watching what's happening in the fashion festivals, the fashion parades around the world. There's some fashion weeks happening in Europe and here in Australia as well, in Melbourne. I think it's happening as we speak. And there's a lot of talk about power dressing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Have you read it? I'm like, why would we be talking about power dressing? If anything, I felt that the natural tendency would be for people to be a bit more casual and natural about the way that they work, especially here in Australia. But maybe do you think it's a sales campaign, or do you think that people are very keen to go back into power dressing like we did in the 90s?
Oh, well, I think it will depend on, what you do with the information. Right. Again, like I said, that they're throwing out there. That's what fashion does. And then you pick whatever, it depends on you, what you want to do with that information. That's no other way to explain it. So for me, it's all about people knowing where they are, what they stand for, and translating that into their lifestyle, their everything, their specifics, their body types, and everything. So if you are in the mood to really make an entrance, as we say, you go for it. And if you want to get more relaxed about the whole thing, there's room for that as well. But I think the main point, Renata, is that the whole point of even writing the book is so people don't need to be trying to figure out what is the trend or what is what I should be wearing. They should know what works for them and forget about what others think about it, or age appropriate or dress code. I think for the corporate people, the one thing that is the most important is really resonate with who you are interacting. You're not going to be too dressed up if you're meeting with the ground floor employee, or you're not going to be underdressed if you're talking to the CEO of your company or a potential client of your VIP client, that kind of thing. So that's the main thing to look for. But on a personal level, you really have to bring the awareness within. That's the core message, and not look for external clues. Or nothing wrong with admiring people, and that's what we do as human beings. We look for people, celebrities, movie stars back in the day, now influencers, whatever you call them. And so I would love to look like her, but look, you're not her. You can get inspired, but she's a different person. She's got different lifestyle, different personality, different body specifics. She's in a photo or video, that's not real.
Yeah.
So learn what works for you. Make time for yourself to learn what works for you, because you're unique. Don't take that away from you. That's your power, right?
And it's interesting that, you and other stylists that I know focus a lot on showcasing your personality, understanding your body type. But because of what we're fed in the media, we tend to not shop for us. We tend to shop for what we see out there. So there's
Exactly.
this
Yeah.
misalignment of messages. And I think you're so right. The other thing I think it's interesting is that we don't actually know what our body types are.
Oh, for sure.
Isn't
And
it
it's
funny?
changed. It's changed. Like, it's not going to drastically change, but no, we go through so many things as women, menstruation, menopause, maternity, all this change our bodies. And it's difficult for the brain to keep track of the changes.
No,
So
that's a
even
good
like
point.
clients for me, like lost 20 kilos, for example, when we go shopping, they still go, straight to the old size. I said, you're no longer that size. What you're doing
Yes.
there, so just to give you an example, I was talking to somebody the other day, and we're talking, about jeans and the whole skinny jeans thing that is over now and all that. She said, oh my God, when the skinny jeans came up, I hated them. I found them so weird, so body conscious, too tight and showing but then I grew to love them. And now they're gone. I'm feeling, what am I going to do? That she was conditioned to love skinny jeans. And just to illustrate that, for me, it was quite the opposite. I've never worn jeans until very recently that the whole skinny jeans disappeared, and they started to be more democratic and do wide legs and do straight legs and things like that. Because the skinny jeans was never for me.
No, I hated them.
I refused to conform to that. So I didn't wear jeans for a long time. And now my daughter said, Mom, you have 10 pairs of jeans. Yes, because now I love them, because they are for me. And if they ever disappear, which is probably going to happen in a few years' time or God knows when, and the skinny jeans return, I'm still going to wear them because they're for me. They're for my body type. I'm not going to swap just to follow the trend. I follow my body. That's exactly what I was trying to say. I follow my body regardless of trend. If I love green is saturated in fashion now. I wear green because I love green. I've always done. And if the fashion fades, the trend fades, I still wear. Doesn't matter if people think, oh, you are not on trend.
Well, you use the opportunity to buy things during that time that it's trending, and then you use it whenever you want, right?
Exactly right. And, like, I'm not too concerned about people's opinion. My clients, they always say, oh my God, I'm 50. What should I wear? What should I wear? There's not such a thing. Dress for your body.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of clients that are working in the corporate sector, Silvana? What are their main sort of concerns when they reach out to you?
From the 30-year-olds, they want to get somewhere, somewhere else. They're aspiring a career.
They want to dress for the next job.
Yes, correct.
Right.
The 50-year-olds are already there. So what happened is quite an interesting phenomenon. Like, it seems to be like quite a hallmark for the 50s. They reach their potential, they reach their career goals. The kids are gone and they have financial independence. But because they spend so much time working on their career, looking after the family and all these things, they forget about themselves. And exactly like you said, the body changed, menopause and all this, and they don't know themselves anymore. They don't know what works, what they should be. They get stuck in this thing. What should I wear? What shouldn't I wear? That kind of thing. These are pretty much my main clients. Yeah.
So let's talk about those two clients. What advice would you give for somebody who is trying to make it and wants to dress for their next job? What would you usually recommend that they do?
So regardless of where they are, they really have to start thinking about where they want to be and really focus there. And a great part, when you are projecting yourself and, developing skills and really imagining yourself in the position you want to be, imagine how you would be dressed as well. look at your boss, look at, people you admire, entrepreneurs you admire. It's so easy to get this information these days, much easier than in the past. So really have a clue. Obviously, it's going to depend on your industry, if it's more or less conservative, but you really have to start making it, buying a better bag, or, spending time investing, right? Because you're going to get it back. You're going to get it back. And remember that people in Australia have an advantage because everybody else is more laid back. So if you do one little bit extra, you are way above. So that's the big thing. If you are in a city like New York, you were there with so many, even if you improve your look, there's going to be somebody that's better. And we don't have that here yet. So take advantage of that. Invest in quality pieces. Less is more. Quality, neutral tones, impeccably dressed. You don't need to break the bank. You can buy in an affordable brand that has good quality, obviously, good enough quality, and tailor. So that's one piece of advice. Invest in a capsule wardrobe. You don't need to buy too many pieces. And I put all this in my book, like for out of 12 pieces, you can make out 40 different outfits.
Yes.
So they multiply right before your eyes. If they're the right pieces, they are neutral, classic, and then all you have to do is just spice them up with a little bit of accessories, put your personal touch, your signature style, and then that's all you need. So
are there any, if we're talking about Australia, are there any go-to shops? Like if people are in a hurry and they have a job interview coming up very quickly, is there like a go-to shop that you would recommend?
Yes, there are. Yeah, it's a budget thing. It depends on the budget. But I would say, Q, you can find some nice jackets, or even witchery. You can find Q, Veronica Main, Country Road. These stores, you can find some Sartoria or COS. I love COS quite a lot. It's a bit more Scandinavian style, but they still have some things that, shirts and stuff that are pretty well made. And
what about US? What would be your go-tos in America if you were in a hurry and you needed something straight away?
Well, there are phenomenal brands there. And the thing, for tailoring, I love Joseph. I love Vince. They're fantastic. Anything pretty much you get from these stores. Their theory, they are a little bit higher, but look, if this is a completely investment, like I said, you don't need as many pieces. But the thing is, they will last for many, many, many years.
Yeah.
So that's the investment. It's cost per wear, right? And you really have to treat that as an investment in your career.
Yes. Silvana, I don't know if you've been faced with this situation, but a lot of people have gained weight during lockdowns. And now they're, in that sort of in-between zone where you can't wear what's in your closet. What do you usually recommend when people don't want to overinvest in statement pieces when they're not at their ideal weight and they're currently, dieting or something like that? I know that I have gone through that in my life as well when I've been above my weight, had a big event coming up. And I can even tell you Bird's Nest. Do you know Bird's Nest? They are a website where you can go and shop.
No, I don't.
Oh, it's very Aussie, and the ladies that work there are fantastic. I remember going to an event and I was very overweight. This was before the pandemic, and I had to be dressed very sort of well for that event. And I went on the Bird's Nest website and I said, "Can you please deliver tomorrow because I have an event in 2 days?" And I got my package the next day with a note. I hope it makes it on time. But it's really hard sometimes when you are, you really do not have anything to wear, and it's because you've gained weight, and I know a lot of people have during lockdown. So I wonder if you have any advice for them.
Yeah, it happens quite a lot. Like the first thing is you're really committed because let's face it, it's not easy to go back right to the old weight. So you're really serious. You're gonna lose weight. Of course, you're not gonna buy an entire word only to lose it. Invest in one blazer that will suit you today.
That's a good point.
Because like I said, before, a blazer changes everything, elevates any look. And if it's pretty well, fitting blazer that suits you, so that's going to completely change the elevate your look, like I said.
Yeah.
But if you're really serious and you know that you're gonna lose weight, you can always alter the blazer a little bit, when that's done. And you don't need to buy the most expensive blazer. Like I said, you can always buy something and tailor it. Buy something that's mid, like not too low, that's got good quality still, or you can sell the item later, or, donate, whatever. But, like invest, obviously we're not talking about investing in only one piece. You can invest in a couple of pieces, to keep you going until you reach your goal. But the most important thing of doing that is that you keep the momentum going. You continue looking good and encouraging yourself to lose the extra, to shed the extra kilos, because it's important for you to look in the mirror, like what you see, that's how I'm looking good. I'm going to, it triggers a positive cycle.
Yes.
More often people don't want to interact with people because they don't feel good about themselves. And then, okay, what's the point of going to the gym and continue, eating the way they did? So, but the opposite can also happen. And if you're motivated, you get out there, interact with people, and then you feel good. I want to exercise. I want to improve my diet, and all these things. So it can happen both ways. You can trigger a negative or a positive cycle depending on how you react.
And Silvana, then you said you have those amazing 50-plus-year-old corporate women that come to you. I'm assuming they're very comfortable with where they are. I'm 50 now. I'm very comfortable with my size. I don't care what other people think anymore. I just want to, dress well for whatever occasion is coming up. What would then be the difference in working with those women, and what would you suggest that they do?
I wouldn't say that 100% I like you. Many of them.
I think I've always been like that, frankly. I think it's just part of my personality. I never really cared what other people thought of me.
Yeah, so that's something that's probably the case, because often, like, seriously, except for a few exceptions, that people really hire me because they can be bothered shopping. They just don't have the time, that kind of thing.
Yes.
They have a fantastic style already. I'm just a shopper for them. But they're the minority. The vast majority are people who are not comfortable with who they are. Like I said, they focus too much on their career or family or a combination of both. They are not in their ideal weight, or they're not happy with their body because they don't know how to dress for their body. That makes all the difference. That's what people don't get. You can look slimmer, taller, or the opposite if you want to. Clothes can do magic for us.
Yeah.
Literally magic. Once they learn that, and then, that's a whole other story. But until then, there's a lot to be, working on and understanding and learning. Yes, it's an individual thing, but
I have no trouble shopping. Like, I really enjoy clothes. I've always liked it. But once I started shopping with a stylist, I was introduced to a whole bunch of items that I would have never tried.
I hear that 100% of the time.
It is so bizarre. And once I put them on, it makes total sense. And then I tend to keep them for longer in my wardrobe because they are perfectly fit for my body type. They fit me like a glove. And I don't know what magic happens, but it just makes more sense to me. And I find that even though I have to pay a fee for the stylist, I end up saving money in the long term.
Oh, absolutely. Because you stop your bad habits. You said, right, we are creatures of habit. This lady is wearing skinny jeans just because everybody else is wearing. She never stopped and thought, this is not great for me. That's what everybody else is wearing, but it's not for me. And then that's what people do. They just, like my mother-in-law, for example, what she does, she goes to a store and she buys the entire mannequin. Exactly what's there. The mannequin is the mannequin. Look at their body. It's a mannequin. It's like this.
Yeah.
We're curvy. We have real bodies. That's obviously not going to work. The colors that are there are not for you. A stylist study that. That's what we do for a living. So I bought my wedding dress online because I know my body that well. I buy 100% of my clothes online pretty much. And I returned twice, returned a bag because it was not exactly like the photo. And pair of pants or something because there was a big cutout and it was not showing in the photo. But I know what people say, how do you know what works for you? Because I read the description, because I understand fabric, because I know color, and because I pay a little bit of, attention to all the details that are there.
I
know the
never
shops
read
well.
anything. That's why I keep returning everything.
Look, the maintenance is important. You want to be, doing dry cleaning or hand washing stuff all the time. We're busy people, right? Dry cleaning not only wrecks the fabric, but it's costly. I don't want to buy anything that it's dry cleaning all the time. I buy a blazer, but you never, dry clean a blazer once a year. But there are pieces that are only dry cleanable, simple tops like this. You have to wash every time you wear. You're going to be dry cleaning every time. That's insane. So this kind of things that our stylist is ahead of the game, because that's our business. No, that's what we live for. And we have an eye for style. I look at you, regardless if you're in person or, behind the screen. I know what works for you. Obviously, I'm not seeing your entire body, for example, but if I see your entire body, I know what works for you and what doesn't.
What's in your shopping cart these days? What is it that you are looking forward to purchasing?
Well, we're entering winter here in Australia, so I'm looking to renew my blazers, having more fun with color, perhaps. I am a huge mule person all year round.
Really? I find them so hard to wear. I feel like they're going to slip out of my shoes.
You get used to that. And exactly why I like them so much, because there's no strap, and the strap tend to tighten, and make me uncomfortable. So vests and blazers and turtlenecks and things like that entering the new season are in my cart at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, and I like brogues shoes for winter, so I like that kind of more masculine style of shoes for winter.
Right.
So
that's
I haven't had one in a while, and I want to have one again. And I'm sort of keen on blazers as well, and I'm keen on collared blazer, like a bright color, but not red, because I don't feel red suits me. So I'll be looking for something like maybe a green blazer. I don't know, something different. And that's all I need. I feel like because I've been in lockdown for 2 years, my clothes haven't aged. I haven't used them that much, so I don't feel like I need to be shopping.
Yeah, exactly. If they are timeless styles, what's the need to buy, right? What I often do with my clients is just get rid of stuff instead of buy new, because they have too much, and that makes it difficult for them to know what they have in style and things like that. So I'm just posting a new YouTube video on wardrobe declutter. So I'll send you all the details later so you can share with your audience a big wardrobe declutter for fall 2022.
So I'm going to include in the episode show notes your YouTube channel and the video for the wardrobe declutter, and the link to your book, so that people can learn more about their body types and get ready to get out of lockdown and into the world wearing clothes that fit them properly.
Yeah, but more than anything, more than a styling book, this book is an empowering book. That's the message that I wanted to pass on more than anything else.
Yes, I received it a couple of days ago, and I love page 42 and 43 the most because of the colors. I really like that combination here, this one here. I told you before, I don't think I can wear red, but I think I could wear this.
There are reds and reds, right?
But this is fine, and I'm like, oh, I never thought of that. So
yeah. It softens, right?
Yes, it does. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on the Job Hunting Podcast, Silvana. I hope that by listening to you, the listeners get inspired to get out of tracksuit pants and into tailored pants and blazers and go for job interviews face to face again and get ready, even if they're working from home and doing Zooms all day, that they feel comfortable putting back on their work clothes and getting into business mode. So thank you so much for coming on board and talking to us.
Thanks so much for having me here. It's always a pleasure to share a little bit of styling tips and stuff. But more than anything else, get out there and just find out what works for you, for your specifics. That's the most important thing.
To learn more about Silvana's work, please follow her on Instagram and on YouTube. She also has a website where she's selling her book. The book is called The Image of Success: How to Influence, Persuade, and Perfect Your Personal Presentation. All of the links to Silvana's work will be on the episode show notes, as well as links to my website and the work that I do. Thank you so much for spending time with me and with Silvana, and I will see you at the next episode. We have loved making this episode for you, and I hope that you enjoyed listening to it. Thank you for your support this year, especially if you are a newsletter subscriber and a regular listener to this podcast. If you have not yet subscribed to my newsletter for the job hunters and career enthusiasts, please go to my website renatabernardi.com or follow the link available in the episode show notes. And if you need extra support during the festive season, you can find on my website an online course called Reset Your Career and also a talent assessment called Find My Talents. They are always available and ready for you when you're ready for them. Ciao for now, and I'll see you next time.